I wonder if all the other sisters know that Martha is by far the favorite child. She's just better in actually every single way. My friends, what's going on? It's BenCappp here. I've got a how-to guide for Exosisters coming at you. One of the reasons I wanted to put this together is there was a regional that I will link in the description below. Someone did come first place with Exosisters, so I think it's a good time to kind of showcase this deck because this deck is a good deck for beginners to pick up. It's easy to play, and I think that with the cards that you can play with it, such as Dimension Shifter, stuff like that, it can kind of really help you, uh, you know, get to play Yu-Gi-Oh again. You can, jump right into it. You can ignore half the meta because the cards just stop them. So you kind of always want to have a deck like that in mind for people to pick up and be able to play. I do think that this deck is fun. The cards are cool. So right now I've got just a skeleton of the Exosisters. The only card that you won't play that's been made for them is Exosister Carpe Diem. That's how you say it. It's just not good. All the other cards are pretty good. You will play them. This is the only one that you won't. So I'm going to be showing you 1 to 2 card combos just so you can kind of get the deck down and then throw it with floodgates and evil monstrous cards. So yeah, let's jump into it. Alright, so first card I'm going to showcase is Exosister Packs. This is because it's arguably the best card in the deck. It lets you search any Exosister card. Yes, spell and traps as well. And it can also allow you to special summon a monster under certain circumstances. So you do pay 800 life points, and I want to mention that since Yu-Gi-Oh! Time rules are phenomenal. A lot of the Exosister cards do allow you to gain 800 life points in response to losing 800. There's ways to get it back. So I just wanted to state that. I also want to state you're going to be adding Exosister Martha. Martha is by far the best Exosister. All the other ones are, quite frankly, just pathetic. Their stats are pathetic, and without a fellow sister, they are lonesome and terrible. So the only one that is an exception to that is Martha, and she also has the highest stats. Go Martha. So Martha will allow you to special summon herself, as well as Exosister Elise or Ellis from the deck. Put that in defense. Ignore that. But she will also lock you into Exosisters before or after you have to commit to Exosisters if you're going to be using Martha's effect. So we will jump into Exosister Michaelis here, which will allow you to search a spell or trap. Now, she also can banish cards on the turn she summoned, but of course going first here, miraculously only drawing 1 card, you're going to be activating the effect simply to search for a spell and trap. So we're going to detach the Elise here, or Ellis, because in the circumstance we use Exosister Packs. She has a fellow sister who we can special summon her to the field if we feel that's important. So we're going to go ahead and search the Exosister Vadis, which will allow us to put 2 different Exosisters on the board. And why this is important is that anytime a card is moved in either graveyard by your opponent's means, you can just jump into Exosister Exceeds with your face-up Exosisters. So that's your main choice. And I want to go through a couple just because they're here and they're options. This card will allow you to banish 1 card on your opponent's turn if you control an Exosister card. So that is removal. That's guaranteed. It's a good option. And then also the Arment. This is kind of an underrated card, I think. Even if the circumstances were exactly as this is my only card in control, my only search. I will show this just because I think it's important to know. So if I went ahead and I did search that card and I set it on my opponent's turn, I am actually able to exceed with my exceed. So that would allow you to get Caspital, and this is essentially an Abyss Dweller on your opponent's turn. So if you already know what you're playing, there might be a better option than just setting the Vadis. And this card will also allow you to negate an opponent's monster on their turn. So just to let you know that you can do that, you can make an Abyss Dweller on your opponent's turn, kind of important. And so of course, if you do open Martha, same exact situation. You're just able to make 1 exceed guaranteed. The other option, if for some reason it was, we'll beneficial for you for some reason. This will allow you to go ahead and search another Exosister. It could be an additional copy of Martha. But yeah, this is your monster searcher. The other one searches spell and traps. And they mainly just do things when on the turn that they're summoned. So going first, you know, like I said, you generally want to make Nicholas just to get some more card advantage. And again, that being said, like if you draw any other Exosister by themselves, they're just like, you might as well put Karibo on the field. Like they're awful. So that's something to keep in mind. Alright, so the only other Exosister card that's really going to give you value by itself is going to be Vadis. I know I said Vadis earlier. Forgive me. Alright. So again, this card's going to let you special summon 2 Exosisters from the deck. Their effects are live, which is huge. But they will be shuffled back to the deck at the end phase, so you really want to use this card when you know your opponent is going to move the graveyard in some way to let you exceed on their turn. So I'm going to show you what happens if it makes it back to your turn, and you know, if it's not forced out, you don't need to activate it. This card is extremely good on your turn, and I'll show you why. So we're going to let this Kozaki smash this for 400 whole life points. So made it back to my turn, I'm able to activate this. So I do have to special summon 2, and they have to correspond with one another. So when I go ahead and I pick Sophia, my only other target is Irene, because they mention each other on the cards. So these 2 are your targets mainly for this play, and I'll show you why just right now. Sophia allows you to just straight up draw a card if you control an Exosister. We all love drawing cards. And I'll also get 800 because I control the one that Sophia mentions, which is Irene. Irene's effect will allow me, if I have one that I don't really need, to shuffle one of my Exosister cards back into the deck, and I will draw a different random card. So say I shuffle this back, and I get packs. Huge, right? So in this instance, I'm really able to just kind of go off. I can go ahead and make Caspital if I didn't draw this pack. This is even more important. She's going to go ahead and allow me to activate her effect. I'll detach Sophia, and I will grab Martha. Now Martha, again, can special summon if I don't have any monsters or if I control an Exosister XYZ. So I'm able to activate that effect. I have an Ellis in the deck still, so I'm able to special summon her. And just like that, I'm able to get into a Nicholas. So again, since this is the turn that Nicholas was special summoned, I can go ahead and activate her effect to banish at any time. It's a quick effect. And I'm also able to still detach to search a spell and trap. So that's all off of the trap card. I haven't even normal summoned yet. The card is massive on your turn. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and show you the side of things when it's on your opponent's turn. It's almost just as effective. Alright, so as you can see, our opponent's playing Keymace Beatdown, but we've got a Exosister Vadis set and a called by, and I'll show you why the called by in a second. So we're going to go ahead and pass our turn. So on our opponent's turn, especially, you want to wait for a moment that they would be activating an effect that moves a card from the graveyard. Any graveyard, it's their effect. You would just chain Vadis, and that would guarantee that the Exosisters that you bring out would resolve upon that card's resolution. I'm gonna, in this instance, show you Martha and Called By, because this is important. Martha is the only Exosister that allows you to make an exceed on your own behalf. And I say that in the sense that I can move a card in the graveyard and Martha is able to exceed. The other ones need your opponent to move a card from the graveyard, but Martha is just, again, just straight up better in every which way possible. So in this instance, we will be using Martha just to kind of showcase that. So they've hit the field, and I'm going to use Called By. I'm just going to banish this evil Kozaki, which is going to allow me to just go ahead and activate Martha's effect as Chainlink 1. It's at the resolution, of course. And I'm able to make any Exosister exceed I want besides Magnifica. So, pros and cons to this, for each one. I can make Nicholas. That allows me to banish a card as a quick effect, which is great. I'm not able to, of course, search for spell and trap, but that's a great option. The Cast Vital isn't super great. It kind of stops your opponent from special summoning from the graveyard. It's a good option in case you're just fighting for your life and you don't want them to get more steam on the field. This is a really go-to option right now. This isn't, like I said, it's an Abyss Dweller. It's just going to shut off all graveyard effects after its effect resolves once it hits the field. And Gabrine will allow you to stop an opponent's effect, so that's pretty good. So in the best case scenario, you wouldn't be using Martha and Elise or Ellis. It doesn't really matter. You just would want to use this card when your opponent activates something that moves. That way you get 2 Exceeds. In this instance, we're only going to get 1. So I'll go ahead and make the Nicholas. And again, it's a quick effect. I can just straight up banish a card my opponent controls. So that's that. That's why, you know, that's the whole key of this deck is force your opponent into a position where they have to use the graveyard in some way, either graveyard, and you can just go off. And again, of course, now that it's my turn again, I would be able to search a spell and trap and just continue going off. Alright guys, so now I'm going to get into the 2-card combos. I'm pretty much going to run through every sister real quick just so you know what they do and how to best use them. I'm going to start off with Exosister Stella. Stella is a great starter. She's able to special summon any Exosister monster from your hand. And I also have Ellis here, who is able to special summon herself if I control one. So they kind of seem redundant, right? Why I want to detail this is because if I activate Stella, I'll get Ellis onto the field. And if I activate Ellis, I'll get Ellis onto the field. I can make it rank 4. Which one do I want to activate? Hands down, without question, I'm going to activate Stella every time. Because, quite frankly, I hope my opponent imperms this. I hope they Veiler this. I hope they use something on this. That way it's a waste, and I can just activate Ellis, get Ellis onto the field anyway. Now, I know that the argument's going to be made, well, what if you get Gammaed? What if you get Ogred? I would much rather my opponent Gamma Stella than like Gamma the Exceed I made, and that's because then I'm 2 cards down instead of 1. If this card gets hit in some manner, you know, I'm still able to keep the Ellis in my hand at a time and continue on with my play somehow. So, in this instance, we were able to make an XYZ without Martha's help, and why I detail that is because now, with these 2 monsters, you can go into Cast Vital. Cast Vital will be able to detach and search out the Martha. And you always want to think, which one should I detach? I want to try to have as many different names in the graveyard as possible. This is because, again, Exosister Pax is able to search a monster, and if that monster that corresponds with them, aka Irene and Sophia, mention each other, you're able to special summon the monster onto the field. So you kind of always want to fill the graveyard with different names. But again, we're searching out an Exosister. We're going to grab Martha. That's because Martha is able to activate her effect because I control an XYZ. That's an Exosister. So then we will, of course, bring out the Ellis from the deck. And we can jump into the wondrous Nicholas, who is going to, of course, allow us to add a spell and trap to the hand. In this instance, we are going to make Magnifica after these 2, so I'm going to add Returnia to my hand. Returnia is extremely good if you know that you can exceed on your opponent's turn. And I'll show you why. So, Magnifica is able to use both the XYZ monsters on the field to special summon herself. She is able to banish a card, quick effect, on either player's turn. Not only on the turn that she summoned, but any turn, unlike Nicholas. So this is your boss monster. This is your, I want to get into this card as much as possible. She's super good. She can attack twice. And on top of that, at any point that your opponent activates a card effect, you can chain with her effect to return one of her material to the extra deck, and then use that one to exceed on top of Magnifica. So your main target when you activate that effect is going to be the Nicholas. This is because now that she's been summoned on your opponent's turn, you're able to disrupt them. You can banish a card on their turn. So realistically, Magnifica is a banish 2 on your opponent's turn. It's just super good. On top of that, why I say Returnia is best paired when you know you can exceed on your opponent's turn is because this has 2 extra effects that can be utilized on resolution of the card. So, without question, this is a great card in itself that you're able to banish any card your opponent controls if you control an Exosister monster. But again, after that, if you XYZ summon this turn, you're able to banish an additional card. So, Magnifica kind of turns into a banish 4 on your opponent's turn. I mean, that's crazy. It's kind of unheard of. And again, Returnia is great. Another effect here is to be able to XYZ summon on your opponent's turn, or whatever you got to do if you control the monsters to do so. So, banish 4 on your opponent's turn, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty good. So the next hand I'm going to be showing you is Ellis and Sophia. Pretty simple. Just summon the Sophia. As before I mentioned, you're able to special summon Ellis if you control any Exosister, and that of course will allow you to draw a card because you control one with Sophia. I'm not going to get the 800 life points. This is because I'm not controlling Irene, which is the corresponding Exosister for Sophia. But I mean, you're ready to go. You're ready to jump into that same play I just showed you. Make your Caspatel, detach, get your Martha, doing all the Martha things. Jump into your Nicholas. See this wondrous animation. Detach and grab your Returnia. And get into that magnificent Magnifica. So now you've got your card up than you were before, and you're able to search a Returnia still. Sophia is great. I mean, just being able to draw a card for free is it's a big impact in Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's a bigger impact with Exosisters because you try to dwindle your opponent's advantage, and this really helps you just kind of get ahead a little bit. So the next hand I'm going to show you is a hand that you already do have the Martha, but you also have another Exosister. In this case, I'll be showing Stella. This works back and forth, and I'll show you why. So if I go ahead and I get the Martha out, I'm able to jump into a Caspatel, just like before. And in this instance, instead of searching Martha, I'll be searching a card that I can benefit from using Stella. So in this instance, I will be searching out Sophia. I will normal, because I haven't normaled yet, of course, the Stella, who will then be able to grab the Sophia onto the field, and I would love to draw a card for free. So the same can be said if I already have Sophia. I'll probably just search out Stella and do the same thing, but an opposite. And then if I have an Ellis, I'll still search out the Sophia because I want to draw the card. Irene, as I mentioned before, Irene is a give and take. I have to put an Exosister card back into my deck to draw one. So Sophia is just obviously better. But you know, you got to play her because these two correlate, and you have to have those targets. It's very important to have those targets. And again, just moving forward, we're able to do all the fun stuff we did the turn before. We're able to search a spell and trap. We're gonna get Returnia again because we're able to make Magnifica. So again, Sophia is great. You want to find a way to integrate her into your play to get that card off. Alright, so we're going to play out this hand as if we don't have the ability to use Martha. Of course, if you had these two cards, you would grab Martha and just do the same thing I showed you last turn. Special summon those two, get the Sophia out, draw a card, search Alice maybe to make the 2 rank 4s. But in the instance, for some reason, you can't use Martha. Maybe it got negated, something like that, and you've got these 2 cards. I just want to showcase packs real quick. So if I've got Sophia on the field or in the graveyard, when I use packs, if I search Irene, I will be able to special summon her. Now, of course, a better option might be to just get Stella and normal summon Stella, special summon the Sophia from hand. It could be normal Sophia and get Alice onto the field for free, but you want to kind of work with that corresponding factor, and that's because, again, I'm able to just special summon this once PAX resolves, and because they're the corresponding ones, I get life points for each activation, so I'm able to draw a card, and maybe I can't use that card, I don't need a card that's already in my hand, because I'm not playing with 2 cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! I could shuffle it and draw a different card, and gain 800 life points. So now I'm up 1600 life points I didn't have before, and I can still make an XYZ, which again is most of the time going to be Nicholas, and this is because again I'm able to search these very impactful cards. So really the last combo I'm going to show you, because again, I mean, all the cards kind of work together. Stella is able to get one out. Ellis can get herself out. You can kind of do the math. But this is one other thing I kind of wanted to highlight. If you've got Vadis and Arment, and I like Arment. I think Arment's kind of underrated, like I said. Say you're not playing against an opponent that uses the graveyard, or they're totally avoiding it like the plague. If you've got Arment, you're able to go ahead and activate this on your opponent's turn to make said XYZ immediately, and really apply that pressure. So I could go for a banish one, I could go for a no more special summoning from the graveyard, just turn off the graveyard here, or negate an opponent's monster effect. So it's really up to you what you think is best at the time, and that really just kind of forces the effect to be live and keep you alive. So here's a version of Exosisters that I've been playing. I wanted to kind of just draw 5 and do a test hand for you before I end this video. This deck is, I don't want to say reliant on prosperities, but I mean, this deck does so much better with Pot of Prosperity. I mean, that card is just great, and it's perfect for this deck. I'm not playing in this build because, I like to make decks without it. I don't know. But I just wanted to be able to kind of draw some hands and let you see that. So I am going to put the other deck profile down in the description, like I mentioned. So we're looking at a pretty good hand here. We're able to make an XYZ without Martha's help. That's kind of like, can I do that? Yes or no? If I can Magnifica, which is great. We've got 3 awesome cards here as well, and we're going to be able to draw a card in addition to that. So I will normal Sophia. Because I control an Exosister, I will get that Ellis out. I will make sure to activate this effect before I XYZ. I will draw a free card, which is the Returnia, which is awesome, because now I don't have to search it when I make the Nicholas here. So I'm going to make the Caspitel first, because that's going to allow me to add the Martha to hand, because I'm greedy and I want to make 2 Exceeds. Get her out, get the Elise from the deck, and we'll jump into that Nicholas and be blown away by these awesome effects. We will then detach to search a spell and trap. Like I said, I do have the Eternia. I'm going to go ahead and add the Vadis here. I could, maybe use Arment or Pax, but the reason why I want to add Vadis here is because of Returnia's secondary effect. So again, secondary effect is I can, immediately after this effect resolves, XOZ summon an Exosister using monsters I control. So I do have to have the appropriate cards to make that XYZ summon, which is why it pairs very well with Vadis, because I am getting 2 monsters onto the field who are not essentially guaranteed to use their effects to XYZ summon, but if they do, now I can banish 2 cards. If they don't, I can make an XYZ on my opponent's turn guaranteed, banish a card, and potentially banish another card with Nicholas or all the other things that they do. So we'll go ahead and top off this play as per usual, make our Magnifica, and set 400 cards with an Ash in hand. Yugioh. Another hand here. It's another good hand. We have got the D-Shifter, so gotta activate this first, because if we have a card in the graveyard, we can't activate it. So go ahead and D-Shifter, does not affect our deck whatsoever. We've got the Martha, which is great. The 1-card starter, the 1-card just best sister, cheers. We're gonna make our Caspitel, because we do have another Exosister in hand. If we didn't, we would just make the Nicholas right away. But we do have Irene in hand, so we will detach the Elise here, and we will grab a copy of our Stella. This is because we do need to get both of them onto the field. I don't want to burn up all my Ellises because Martha needs them in the deck. So I will grab Stella instead. get Irene out. I don't have a card in hand to shuffle back and draw. I may not want to anyway, but I'm gonna go ahead and make the Nicholas again, and look at that animation. We're gonna detach. We're gonna grab Returnia because we know we can get into Magnifica, and then we're all set, right? No pun intended. All right. I am playing Desires. I don't think it hurts the deck. We're gonna let her rip. Now check what our banished are. Now we banished 2 Ellises. This is kind of the main card you don't want to banish out of any of them. That's because Martha cannot use her effect without Ellis in the grave. So we didn't banish all 3. We're surviving, but we're not surviving because we don't have any monsters. So this is the crush of the deck. It's kind of a summon blank set 5 kind of deck. That's kind of how it runs. So Martha you want Martha plus 4 cards. Pax does the same thing. Pax gives you access to Martha. This is what you don't want to see. Now, if I had Vadis, which I may have, yeah, I banished 1 copy of Vadis. If I had Vadis, I would be set because I have Returnia and I can force make an XYZ on my opponent's turn. I've got an Imperm, I've got a book. I'm set, but I don't have a monster and I don't have Vadis, so I'm in trouble here. Alright, so this is a perfect example hand for if I don't have 2 Exosisters in hand or access to 2, I can't make the double XYZs to make Magnifica. I've only got Pax, which is going to get me Martha. And of course Martha can get me 1 XYZ, not 2. But again, like I was saying, maybe you've got adequate cards in hand. You don't need to go make a list to search a card. Let's instead go cast Patel and grab ourselves maybe a Sophia. I want to draw a card for free. I'm feeling good. Now my opponent cannot activate another card. I've drawn a card for free, and I can go ahead and set all the things that can enable Sophia to exceed, go off, all that stuff. So I just wanted to show that maybe you don't need to go Nicholas first turn every time. It might benefit you to put Cast Patel on the field, put a monster face up that can threaten the opponent from using the graveyard at all. It's just a really good option, especially against cards that use the graveyard a lot. You can just go into your Abyss Dweller the moment they use that graveyard once and just shut everything off. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. If you want to see more, I'm sure I gave you a bountiful mouthful already, so maybe you don't ever want to see more again. Let me know. I'm happy to play them, do more stuff with them, but I just wanted to be able to showcase them, show that you only need a couple of them to really just get moving, thanks to Martha. Martha's a huge addition to this deck. And from that point, you can just fill your deck with all kinds of monstrous cards like D-Shifter, Dark Ruler No More, Ultimate Slayers, Judgments, Desires, Prosperity, whatever you got to do. This deck really allows you to play freely, and it really allows you to not have to focus so much on knowing everything about your opponent's deck and just turn them off, shut them off, negate them, banish everything. I think it's a fun deck, it's a great beginner deck, and let me know what you guys think. Thanks.